Welcome to our climate studio live from Baku in Azerbaijan. We bring together experts from politics, science and spirituality to explore new solutions for the unfolding climate crisis. Myself, I'm Golo Pilz, and I will be tonight moderator on Innovation for a Green Tomorrow. It's day 2 of the 29 Climate Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. Delegates hope to resolve the climate finance, and interestingly, the developing countries are asking for $1 trillion every year for the damage due to climate change. This is a staggering amount of money. But the financing goal is being overshadowed by the attention for economic crisis, the war in Ukraine and Gaza, and also the recent US election results. People worry that the US might disengage from the COP process, and many other countries take this as a signal to backpedal from their commitment and existing climate pledges. All this have added to a feeling of apathy at this year's COP29. On top of this, activists like Greta Thunberg call this summit a mere act of greenwashing. So quite ominous beginning. I'm glad to have 2 experts with me and hope we can shed a bit more light on this complex topic. Welcome to Keith. Keith, you are a strategic partner and manager with the Solar Cooker International, an organization, I think, with headquarters in America. And before you have been working in clean water projects, served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand, and have experience in the education sector. I read also that you believe a good meal truly does bring people together. It's a very nice statement, and I promise you after this interview we'll have a good meal all together. I'm also glad to have Maureen Goodman with us. Maureen, you're the program director of the Brahma Kumaris at the United Kingdom, and you have been to many UN conferences and recently also at the Biodiversity Summit in Colombia. And you have a deep interest in spirituality and the ethical dimensions of climate change. And since long you have been involved in the interreligious dialogue and represented the Brahma Kumaris at various occasions. Welcome, Maureen.
Thank you.
So let us straight away start with our interview. Keith, please tell us a bit about Solar Cooker International and your campaigns promoting solar energy and also especially pasteurizing water, which is often overlooked.
Sure. Thanks. I wanted to start by thanking the Brahma Kumaris for inviting me here today. And also thank you for your friendship over the years with Solar Cookers International and for your innovation and leadership in solar cooking as well. It's great to be here. Solar Cookers International, as you mentioned, is a non-governmental organization based in Sacramento, California. We have been around since 1987, so we have over 30 years of experience leading the solar cooking sector, as we like to put it. And our organization primarily focuses on advocacy work, research, and capacity building. Our advocacy work centers around advocating or promoting the use of solar cooking technology as a way to allow for greater access to clean cooking. There are currently estimates of 2.1 billion people around the world that rely on polluting fuels and technologies for cooking their meals, so using wood or charcoal for the primary method of cooking. So we come to events like this, COP29, and some other events throughout the course of the year, the Commission on the Status of Women, the High-Level Political Forum. We also hold some events to highlight the benefits that can be accrued or that can then come about from using solar cooking technology. Our research program looks at testing solar cookers using standards that align with the International Organization for Standardization so that solar cookers can be compared across different manufacturers. And then our capacity building work primarily focuses on some small pilot projects and working with countries to develop manufacturing capacity locally. This includes a program at the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, and then which has been going on for several years now. And we have a couple new opportunities in the year ahead that we're excited about. We've received some funding from the United Nations Climate Technology Center Network, the CTCN, And we'll be doing some pilot programs in Mali and the Central African Republic to introduce or measure the impact that solar cooking can have on those communities. And as you mentioned, pasteurizing water is also another positive impact that can come about from the use of solar cooking technology. So you can heat your meal using direct sunlight, and you can also use that heat energy to make sure that the water that you're drinking is clean and healthy for you as well.
By boiling it.
By boiling it, yeah. By removing the pathogens that could cause you to get sick.
It's a big issue. Wonderful.
Yes, of course.
It's a great work you're doing, especially also in developing countries. I know there are many refugees camp also where you have been active and bringing a basic solar cooking to the people. It's a very nice activity. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Maureen, right now we have a bit of a different question. We have a high number of conflicts in the world, especially right now. It's all over the news. And there is a sense of insecurity also here at the COP a little bit. People just watch what's going on and how this may affect also the whole climate dialogue also. And the reason for the United Nations existence was to guarantee or create peace after the Second World War. And peace is also so important for the nations to trust each other so they can collaborate and sign agreements and work together to combat climate change. And can you share a bit what's the connection between peace and climate change, and why is it so important that we also address this issue?
Thank you. It's actually very crucial, really crucial. And I think it was the president of Serbia today who actually addressed this in the high-level segment. Where you have war, then resources that could be used to mitigate against climate change or to help with adaptation or loss and damage, those resources, and a lot of resources, as we know, are put into armaments, into the war effort. And so that's the first thing, resources are diverted. And I've also seen, especially with the war in Ukraine, how because of the insecurity of the supply of energy, which was coming from Russia, etc., that some countries have turned backwards a little bit towards fossil fuels again, whereas they were moving right away towards renewables. That's been another impact that's affected climate change. Where bombs are used, the impact on the land, the chemicals, the phosphorus and so on.
It's an environmental disaster zone.
It absolutely is. The loss of habitat. So on every level, war is, it absolutely impacts climate change in a very major way. And like you pointed out, governments just then don't have, if you like, the headspace to be really thinking about this. This is the greatest crisis that we have on the planet at the moment, but it gets overshadowed by the crises of war. And so it's very, very important that we work towards peace. The United Nations does its best, but somehow there has to be a change in heart and a change in worldview or vision to see all human life as equally sacred and valuable. And unfortunately, that's not what's happening at the moment. So it's a very important connection.
Wonderful that you shared it. Inner peace, outer peace is paramount for trusting each other and join hands to combat climate change. And we can see that here very clearly at this COP, that the situation becomes openly visible. And Azerbaijan north border is with Russia and southern border is with Iran. So it's a very...
you can see all the divisions which are lining up. Anyway, there's a lot to go into.
It becomes more complicated. The complicated climate issue becomes more complicated through that geostrategical thinking. Keith, coming back to you, mostly we talk in climate change about high tech. I'm going in the green zone, and there's all this latest and newest and most efficient and the biggest and the greatest. And also the cost is often very high of the high tech. It's praised as a solution for climate change, but often the simple things, the easy things, the cheap products, they are overlooked. Like, for example, a solar cooking box. It's quite cheap. And in India, we've sold more than 15,000 solar cooking boxes. Why is it that low cost or simple solutions are often overlooked and sidelined in the discussions also?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think from my perspective, I think sometimes it's maybe almost human nature to look for a complex or complicated solution to a complex challenge. So something like you've been talking about, the climate crisis is a particularly challenging human complication and a human problem. And so I think for many people, it's reassuring to think that there is some high-tech solution coming our way that can help us or save us from the problems that we've gotten ourselves into. For example, I know there's been a lot of attention going towards carbon capture and storage technology, one of these large ways to maybe bring the carbon back into and store it away so that we don't have it creating the problems that we've seen. Solar box ovens are not a particularly new technology. There was a researcher, a gentleman in the 18th century, in the 1700s, Horace de Saussure, who was a pioneer in using boxes and glass to trap and retain heat, and using that for heat storage that could be used to cook food. So this is not something that is particularly new or exciting or expensive. However, it's something that can help reduce our own personal emissions at the household level. So this is, I think, for me, something that is not flashy or exciting, but it means we'd have to reconsider something that is so basic and simple as cooking our meals on a daily basis. And reconsidering how we go about trying to do that, which for some people can be overwhelming or a challenge to overcome that kind of shift in how we're thinking and how we're going about our daily lives. So maybe some of these technologies will come along and the price tag is quite high, and maybe they will be a big impact on how we live our lives in the future. But we think at Solar Cookers International, something as basic as a solar box oven can also be a big part of how we shift towards a more sustainable way of living.
There's also the saying, small is beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm since 25 years in renewable energies, and I found it often that the simple gadgets are helpful, are easy to maintain, have a long life. Solar cooking box lasts 10, 15 years if you maintain it nicely, and are very cheap to replace, And on the other side, we have high-tech gadgets, and then cost goes up, maintenance goes up, complication, you cannot repair it yourself. So we really have to look into the easy solutions for climate change, which is also lifestyle change, Basically, it's the lifestyle change.
These simple solutions are very transformative for families and communities, aren't they? Which is so important.
Wonderful. So small is beautiful. Maureen, our topic today is green tomorrow and innovation for a green tomorrow. And we all know about technological innovation. We just spoke about it, and it's all over, high tech. But there's also a spiritual innovation needed to bring a real change. Maybe moral and ethics have to support and guide the innovation, because sometimes innovation is used in the wrong way. Please share your thoughts on that topic.
I don't think it's just a spiritual innovation. I think we need a spiritual revolution, actually.
Spiritual revolution.
Because we've moved away from a spiritual awareness more towards a materialistic awareness. I think that's obvious in society now for a long time. The voice of faith is very important, because our traditions, when you look at the original teachings, tell us a lot about how we can interact with nature and the earth in a very restorative way, and a way which is harmonizing and respects the interconnectedness of life. But you know, when you think about a spiritual revolution, the word that comes to mind is love. Now, it's not a word you hear very often in
No,
the
not at
conferences. But why I'm saying that is because if we think about what is the root of violence, if I lack love for myself, then I'm looking towards others or towards the external situation to define me, to give me a sense of self. There's like a vacuum inside. And if I really rely on my position, say, as a leader or whatever the position, and somebody is insulting towards me, and I'm going to very practical things here, what happens? I feel a bit defensive, right? And then I could get angry, could even get violent. You extrapolate that and it leads to war. So the root of violence is actually a lack of love for the self, a lack of understanding of the self. And so this is what we actually really need to put right.
So the real spiritual innovation is bringing love into our action, into our relation.
Yeah.
And if everybody's doing that, the planet will become a better place.
Without a doubt.
So let's talk in the COP now a little bit more about love. You know, people might think we're a bit crazy because it's probably the last thing they expect, but it's said that love has an incredible power. Very wonderful thought.
It's the greatest transformative power in this world.
Yes, so we talk more about love in the future. Wonderful. Keith, this conference will talk a lot about damage of climate change. I think it's $500 billion per year already. There are a lot of numbers are being thrown around, and for the compensation. But often this does not reach out to the most vulnerable, the women and the children. What's your hope for this conference, and what's the vision for the future? What we have to do to turn the tide?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think it gets overlooked in some of the formal discussions. I think there's a lot of jockeying between countries about what should be done or what shouldn't be done, who's going to pay for what, and who's eligible to receive these large amounts of money. But in the end, it's often those vulnerable communities, those vulnerable households that are experiencing the front line, right? They're the ones that are experiencing the consequences of climate change. So for us at Solar Cookers International, we try to use our access to events like this to provide a platform to share that message from some of the communities that we've worked with in the past. We try to amplify some of those voices. For example, we have a press conference that we'll be hosting tomorrow in the Blue Zone at COP, where we'll be inviting a guest speaker who's originally from South Sudan, but spent a chunk of time growing up at the Kakuma refugee camp in northern Kenya. Although she didn't grow up using a box oven, it's one of the places where we have a current ongoing project. And so she experienced firsthand the health implications of cooking over open fires regularly in her family. And so she's recognized for others at the Kakuma refugee camp and beyond in that region of the world where many people rely on biomass fuel for cooking. Something as simple as a solar box oven or other solar cooking technologies can really be beneficial for the health of women and children in particular. Clean cooking is disproportionately a gender issue because it's often women and girls that are cooking food, going to collect wood, bringing it back, so it takes up a lot of time. It can cause respiratory health issues as well. And so my hope is that we can help bring that message to the stage of COP29, and I hope that it resonates with those that we speak with. And for me, I hope that the negotiations go well, and that there's some agreements that are a positive sign for our future. But for Solar Cookers International, we're looking for opportunities to work with countries that are relying on biomass. I mentioned Mali in the Central African Republic, the opportunities there. Over 95% of the population relies on biomass for cooking foods. And so these are the places in the world where something like solar cooking can really be impactful and can really be a health benefit, an environmental benefit, a climate benefit, and a human benefit. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish while we're here.
Wonderful. Great. After all, the sun shines almost in all countries of the world.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I have done a lot of solar cooking also with a cooking box. And it works wonderful. It's a beautiful gadget. But of course, at the moment, it's a bit cloudy here in Baku, so it wouldn't work much. Are you having a test cooking somewhere here at the conference also?
We last year we had an exhibit booth that was outside in Dubai, so we were able to cook some food and at our exhibit booth, and had some people come by, and even just smelling it and seeing it working, I think was eye-opening for some people that weren't familiar. This year the exhibit booths are inside, but we brought some simple reflective panel cookers, and so we'll bring them out if we have some sunlight. We'll certainly try cooking.
I'll have a look, and I will visit your stand and have a look and see. I'm always interested in new models. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, very nice insights, and this brings us now to Maureen. And Maureen, would it be possible you can guide us in a meditation for a couple of minutes and talk a bit about innovation of the mind for a green and beautiful tomorrow?
Okay. So I sit comfortably to prepare to expand my awareness. Understanding that whatever is within me is reflected without. I'm aware of my identity in life. I'm aware of perhaps my family. But let me become aware of the whole world, my big human family, and the interconnectedness that I have with all life. I experience the beauty of life on this planet. And I recognize the transformative power of love, the healing power of love. I allow love, unconditional love, to rise in the heart of my being, and I share that love. First, just with my thoughts and vibrations, I send out love to our world. Knowing that healing is taking place. Transformation is taking place. And then I bring that love to everything I do in life. My thoughts, my words, in my actions, in my relationships, in my projects. Let everything be powered by love. And let us together create a loving world. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. Very nice to combine innovation and love. How sweet. What a great experience. And this brings us to the end of this session. And I'd like to thank very much Maureen and Keith for joining us and sharing their insights. I hope the audience will be inspired and got a snippet here and there also of some new knowledge. Thanks also to our patrons and sponsors and to all our volunteers behind and in front of the camera also, who made this transmission possible. Please join us tomorrow for another interesting session of Climate Wisdom Studio. For more information, you please visit our webpage echo.brahmakumaris.org/live. Last not least, thanks to our global audience for staying with us and inspiring us, and you hopefully also will be inspired. And goodbye and good night from Baku, and please stay for another 2 minutes. We play a little short video on the activity of Solar Cooker International. Thanks very much.
Wanga ben giken aniken ben wanga giken no pe ko me wang ti do ko bira yala lo tini bar ben no gicham ma ben do biro giken yala ti ara chel giken ke no ben ti gi pe ko me kore.
This solar help us very much. One sack for charcoal, I can use it almost two months.